All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Anyone else that dials in late, they're just going to miss out at the beginning. So this is Matt Simmons from Simtech Solutions. Thank you all for joining today. I'm here with Donna Curley, who some of you may have communicated with in regards to getting everything set up for your point-in-time count. The days are winding down. We're getting a little bit closer, so we figured we would start off the new year sharing some of the new features that we've had put in play and answer any questions that people might have. During the registration itself, we gave the option for people to ask questions that they want to have answered during this Q&A section. And you might see some of these from yourself if you did ask questions. I'll just read them quickly. What materials are available for training a broader volunteer base was one. How can we recruit more volunteers? How does the mobile app maintain security? How long is the data entered by the PIT volunteers stored by Counting on Us? Does the app have a desktop version? What are the new app and command center features? How does the data get loaded into HMIS for de-duplication? How can we use the mapping features to assign survey areas to volunteer teams? Interested in the team assignment to the census tracts. Can we work from density to rural tracts in assignment? I may have a couple questions on that. What exactly is the intent there? What does it look like at the registration event the night of the count? Or is there no real need to bring everyone together? Is the data collected by the COC used for any purposes other than export to the PIT command center, the PIT count administrator, COC, sorry. All right, you may have other questions, and so feel free to use the chat. We're going to go through these questions that came up ahead of time and provide answers to those. But if you use the chat, we'll circle back on anything that didn't get answered. Right now, everyone is in listen-only mode. If you do feel that you have a question you'd like me to stop, you can dial *6 on your phone, and that's just going to unmute your line, so you can talk. I just figured it would be easier to reduce the background noise for everyone, to have everyone in listen-only mode to start. So, what materials are available for training a broader volunteer base? We can go to the pointin-time.info website, and we do have a resources page there. A couple of the key documents are for, when you talk about broader volunteer base, this to me makes me think of a large continuum of care like balance of state. The cheat sheet really, from the volunteer perspective, is really most of what they are going to need to get rolling. So the cheat sheet's on the bottom. I'm sorry, the getting started poster, my apologies. This gets them rolling. The cheat sheet provides backup guidance. So those two documents in general should be enough to at least convey, get them going. You can tell if a user successfully can download the app, register an account, and join your account activity if you can have the account in test mode, which we encourage you to do, and submit a survey. So that's the easiest way to find out if someone is ready for the count, at least for the mobile app side of things. I did put a link in here, and we can share this PowerPoint afterwards. Texas Homeless Network has a very comprehensive PIT lead manual. Thank you for making it publicly available. What you'll see is we're going to be borrowing some best practices from different clients that we work with and sharing them here. I think together we're going to have a lot more impact. So I think you'll see some really strong guidance in here. And then beyond this, you'll also see that we have some training videos that some of our provider regions have put together. This one is from San Diego, the Regional Task Force, the We All Count volunteer training video. Reginald Glenn from Mississippi also did a really thoughtful, patient training video for end users that I think you might be interested in sharing. You can look at these either as ideas of what to do on your own, or share them as is. Sometimes people can, with permission, let you download and maybe potentially edit it a little bit. But and if you want more assistance on training, if you've been doing webinars such as this, you can also reach out to us. We want to make sure that everyone is comfortable using the technology, both from the end user perspective as well as the regional administrator perspective. But here's a couple of good sample guides of what you can do. Some training considerations, as I mentioned, to have the account being in test mode. This is make sure that they can submit surveys, they can download an app, they can register an account, and they have location services enabled. The location services piece, without that in play, the GPS functionality, which is a key part of the app, won't work. So it is enabled by default, but sometimes maybe a user would decide to turn that off, which kind of defeats the purpose. We did get some feedback where some of the users weren't sure when to use which, the observation tally or when to use the unsheltered survey. HUD is really trying to encourage communities to engage and survey as many people as possible. So if you were to list the survey order in order and have the unsheltered survey on top and the observation tally below that, that kind of helps nudge people towards surveying more than just observing. But really the observation tally for most communities, unless you don't have the volunteer numbers, ideally you're going to use unsheltered survey unless there's a risk to personal harm or engaging someone, there's a language barrier, for whatever reason you can't communicate with a person. Sometimes it's a sobriety issue, a mental health issue where it's not comfortable. The person is sleeping. So if you can use the unsheltered survey, do it. That's the encouragement. If not, then you fall back to the observation tally. Tends to be the HUD best practice. And then we are seeing this year, may have to do something with the update in some new operating system version, that for some end users, and it's not ubiquitous, that they need to tap the area in blue in order to enter a response. So on the question label itself, instead of typing where you would this area, if you tap over to the little icon, that would work as well. But this area, for whatever reason, on some devices, isn't pulling down the drop-down list. So you might want to, if you do see that, just make sure that they just tap the area in blue, and it will pull down the question. And we are looking into that as well, but it's just an isolated issue that we're trying to address. How can we recruit more volunteers? So press releases are key right now. It's educational for the community. You're letting them know that you're about to conduct the census, and then beyond that, it's a way to steer people towards your volunteer registration portals or your websites if you have them. Here we have one from Connecticut that just came out, and this one just came out from the city of Dallas. And if you look at those articles, they're well structured in a way that they provide guidance about what the count is all about, who's doing it, who's behind it, what's happened in the past, what they can expect, how do they volunteer. Those are kind of the key nuggets you want to include in your press release. Social media is also an excellent opportunity to reach out to people. This one is from Houston, and this one is also Connecticut. You'll notice the hashtags that are used. I think hashtag homeless count, hashtag pick count, counting us. We appreciate the shout out, but it also helps us know who's doing what, and then also retweet your work. So anything we can do together to get the word out is going to help. If you have a volunteer recruitment page, either designed by us, that's an option that we provided this year, or on your own, really it's the 5 W's. Why we do it, what do we do, who does the work, when are we doing it, and where are we doing this? This is a screenshot from Ventura counties. Again, it's a little stylized, kind of gets people excited, gets the date, and it's pretty succinct, and then there's a link to register. So you don't need to go overboard. I think most communities that we have these registration portals for are okay with legitimate larceny. Again, we're trying to work together to address homelessness. So I think if you were to look at the different ideas that are out there, you might be able to get some good ones for yourself. And as far as that is concerned, we do have a volunteer page on the pointtime.info site that has links to different volunteer registration portals. And I'll show that in a second. The volunteer registration form itself, key information, again, if you're going to do this in SurveyMonkey, Eventbrite, or something like else, the kind of the key information that you really want to get is the volunteer's contact information, some of the attributes of that person. Are they willing to drive? Do they have a smartphone? You might want to ask that. Do they have previous count experience? Are they, trained staff? Maybe a first responder? Are they multilingual, if that's an issue? Are they willing to participate as an individual? Are they in a group that they need to go with certain people? And where, if you have a large region, like a large balanced estate, it's important to know where they're willing to volunteer. Texas balanced states, for example, you're not going to, it's great they're willing to volunteer, but you're not going to just put them anywhere because it's a big state. And that's Louisiana balanced states form right here. So again, some of the URLs and some of the portals, this is just a starting point. I know we are missing a few. If you have a volunteer registration site and you'd like it to add it to this, what we are trying to do is have one place if people are looking to volunteer to turn them to in general. So we'd like to be able to build this up over time. So if you do have a volunteer URL, registration URL, you want to submit it to point in time pit@syntexsolutions.com, we'll get it added to this queue, this page. And again, it's right on the volunteer page right on the point in time info site that we're listed on. One of the other questions: how can we use the mapping features to assign survey areas to volunteer teams? So this is an optional feature. So for those of you who already have a contract with us, you know there's a base price that gets you everything you need to do to generate the HUD point in time report, and then there's some optional features. We try to right size the work. Not everyone needs all features, and so therefore you should be paying for things you don't need. So if you're a larger region though, and you have the need to assign users or volunteers to portions of your area and have it kind of pre-established, there's functionality within the command center that I can show in a few minutes that really let you set the region geography first. And then if you use the volunteer registration portal, you can have your users, your volunteers already in the system that can be assigned to portions of your community. So you can break out, in this case, this is Carlsbad, which is where I'm in San Diego County, which is a very large county, but one section of it is, you can break it up into many regions. And in Carlsbad, since this is 17 census tracts, I can even break this Carlsbad if I move this further and have count teams within Carlsbad and have people associated to those count teams. So you've got the San Diego County at the macro level, which is what we need to report to HUD. And then within the region, we probably have 40, 50 different subregions. And then within there, we have another layer down of count team areas. And, the beauty of that is we can set quotas for the number of volunteers we need, how many people we need to have a car. We can make sure that we have someone that is either a first responder or outreach worker on every count team. And we can really make sure that ahead of time we have proper staffing. And then when a quota is met, so we have enough volunteers, we can turn off that site from future registration. So that way we can try to get people to volunteer elsewhere. But again, I'll share some more of those features in a minute. And the question, how does County US maintain security? And I put the how long is the data stored by County US into the same slide because the way the security works is really two pieces. Two main components, which is the app and the command center, and then the way the data is transferred between them. So on the app side, survey, not only do you have to have registered for an account, and you have to have a setup key to associate yourself with your account area, but you're also only submitting data to a command center. There's no, beyond the regional settings to come back to the app. When you log in, so you're going to log in, it's going to pull back in information about your local questions, the shape files for your regional boundaries. That information comes back, but the survey information doesn't come back. As far as if someone submitted a survey, you can't use that app to pull information and find out who was surveyed. So that's part of the security. But beyond that, and also you're using your device security as well. So you've got built-in device security. But one of the beautiful things about the app structure is that once a survey is submitted from the app, that data is gone. So the data leaves, it's encrypted, it leaves the app, and then it's decrypted at the command center. So we use 2048-bit encryption, which is high-grade security for the data transfer. Once it's here, then it can be managed by account administrators. But there's no data that stays on the phone. So there's the security there. So how long is data stored by County US? It's only stored until it's submitted. So there is one optional, a feature in there in that there are times when the data doesn't leave the phone right away, and that's when you don't have cell phone connectivity. So you can actually save the surveys that you're conducting, still have those properly GPS tagged to wherever you are, because satellite doesn't require cell coverage. Satellites are up, here's the GPS location is way up high. So their satellites are up in the sky, so they can see everywhere, whereas cell towers are on the ground, and so they're sometimes cell coverage is spotty depending on the topography. So what ends up happening is you can save those surveys at graphs. Excuse me. Get some water here. And later on, when you do have cell phone connectivity, you can submit them. But in the meantime, the only way to get to that access to the data, someone else has to be able to steal your device, log in. So assuming, most devices, again, you should have password controls on your device itself. But similar to how you get that online banking, you would need to be able, you need an online banking app on your phone. There's steps before you actually get that into that information. And again, we encourage people, once they get back into cell phone coverage, to submit those surveys. And on the command center side, we're using Amazon Web Services, and Amazon is the industry leader in cloud-based hosting. So we're able to leverage their whole code stack, their framework, to make sure that the client records are protected. So, and again, if there's any questions on that, on any of this in more detail, we can get into it. But in general, this high level, it's a very secure infrastructure. Some new features in the app. So we now have conditional logic on age questions. So for those of you that used the app in the past, you might have seen that we have 3 different places for asking almost the same information. It's what is your date of birth, what is your age, and what is your age range. And the reason for that is if someone's not comfortable entering, providing their date of birth, well, we go for the next best thing, what's your age? And if they're not comfortable providing the age, we ask for them, we try to do the next best thing, what's your age range? We need one of those values, because if we don't know if someone's an adult or a child, we can't include them in that point in time report. There is no place for, an unknown category if you don't know if someone's an adult or a child. So in order to alleviate the data entry burdens this year, one of our developers, Nathan, added in logic to autofill and gray out the other responses if one of the higher level responses have been answered. So if date of birth is answered, then it autofills age and age range. If date of birth is blank, but age is filled out, it autofills the age range. So that's one thing to be aware of. There are some potential revisions to some of the survey questions as far as the core HUD questions. Just came back from feedback from some of you. One of the things that came up in our field testing here in San Diego about a month ago was we were out in the streets at around 3:30 in the morning, before people get moved along by businesses, and they also do streets. They spray the streets, the sidewalks early on before the business is open. So we have to get there pretty early. Well, and that meant there's a lot more observation tallies than surveys at that time of day. But what we were seeing is a lot of people were bundled up so tightly, either in their sleeping bags or whatever they're wrapped in, that we couldn't really do the age determination and be totally accurate. So as far as before, we had these age ranges for the observation tally, and it was, the standard like 0 to 5, 6 to 13, 14 to 18, and beyond, and then it kept going. But people didn't feel comfortable responding whether or not, someone's age range, what their age range was. So for them, they asked if they could add unknown age believed to be an adult or unknown age believed to be a child. Really thinking about, maybe it's the body size, things around them, et cetera, is another way to infer whether it's an adult or a child, so we can still include that person in the report without skewing the age demographics. There's that side of that feature. The other one on the unsheltered survey, unfortunately, this also came back in that same field testing. We had some people that were living on the streets for 12 years, and the length of homeless question itself was a number of months. So, 12 times 12 is 144, but it made people do math that, when they would rather just focus on the person in front of them, and it was a little bit too much. And really what we're trying to get at with the length of homelessness question is chronic homeless status. So if communities can swap out that question if they like, instead of number of months, and just go to a length of homelessness drop down where it's 0 to 11 months, 12 months or over, is really what we're trying to get to. There's different ranges, but in the sense that instead of having to do the math, you can stick them a drop down. So again, your surveys might already be in play. If you want to have any of your surveys revised to include the needed to, just send us the email to pitt@fintechsolutions.com and say, can we use these new survey questions, and we'll swap them out for you. Other bit of work, and these two are related, support for customer response values and multilingual survey support. We've added some database updates that allow for even the HUD response values to be reworded a bit. You have to be careful about doing this, that you don't change the intent of the question or the response. But what this came out was we've been hearing from some communities that they really don't like the phrasing in certain ways. Someone wanted to add couch surfing, where you're sleeping, living with friends or family, and we had one response that was without it, and they said, can you just put it in parentheses? I think that's from Oregon. And you add couch surfing into there so people understand what that is. So, we can support that now. But beyond that, what would also allow us is if your community, and we're running a little low on time, and I think we can still get these in play, needs multilingual survey support. We can, I'm not multilingual, un poco Espanol. But with some help, we can actually copy the survey over and support Spanish versions of the survey or other languages if need be. And then beyond that, probably one of the more exciting features is we now support regional boundaries in displaying within the app itself. So as you can see over here, for the region, for communities that don't use the region account team management, they'll see the boundaries of the TOC within the app itself. So people will know whether they're scurrying beyond the containment care or not. But for those that do have the region account team management, if someone is assigned to a region and not account team, they'll see the boundaries of the region. So earlier I was showing Carlsbad. If they're assigned to Carlsbad as a region, but haven't been assigned to account team within Carlsbad, they'll see the boundaries of Carlsbad. If they're assigned just to a particular account team area within Carlsbad, that's what they'll see. So what gets displayed is conditioned on the setup of the region itself, as well as the user and what they've been designated for. And one of the questions was, does the app have a desktop version? Yes, it does. It's at counting.us. So the only thing to be aware of when you're using a desktop version, it's built with the same logic as if an app. So instead of just clicking on things, you click and drag. So you hold down the mouse and you're gonna use that to kind of swipe. And it's going to use the the IP address of your phone and your PC location. Your PC location to identify the location, and you can override that by entering the address manually. So if you do have paper versions of the survey that need to be entered in afterwards, I would highly encourage you to use the desktop version. But those paper surveys ideally would have a way to capture the nearest street address, so you have something to enter in, so you can still use the geospatial reporting capabilities in the command center. Command center features. Some of the key ones, and there's been several updates, and these are some of the key ones. The CSV import of volunteer info. This is helpful if you have your own volunteer registration site. As long as you're capturing email addresses and names, you can upload that CSV file and pull that information into the command center. So you have, your list of users all integrated in one place. The export, on the other side, this is going to get a more comprehensive list, because you're going to have some people that just show up in an account and register. They download the app. Their information is going to be pulled into the command center as well. So that export is really helpful for any email campaigns that you have. Maybe you have some pre-count training that you want to tell people about, as well as any post-count count follow-up. So you might be saying, thank you for participating. Make sure you didn't, you submitted all your surveys. You can use this information too. You might have other ways and reasons to reach out to people. Typically, if someone's involved in the homeless count, they care about homelessness. So you can start building your email list for other purposes as well off of this. Kevin added some really cool functionality as far as printing maps directly from the command center. So I think we can share that functionality as well in a few minutes. But basically what it does is it allows you to create these high-res maps that can go, if you want, they can go alongside of what they already have in their phones. So sometimes people want to have a printout to go alongside of what's already on their phones, and it's easier to look at. There are more new response filters in the list and map views. Basically more ways to drill down and work with the data and query the information without having to know how to code. So I think that should be helpful for you. And then the geospatial reporting work that Eddie has done really is going to speed up some of the analysis, especially for larger communities. Texas Balance of State was really kind of the driver behind a lot of this work because they're so huge. But I think you'll see that the benefits of that work. basically it's a lot snappier to run reports by county, by city, by zip code, and census tract, and be able to play with the data by clicking on the map instead of just looking at a list. So another question that people are having is, how does the data get loaded into HMIS for deduplication? So I think it's important first to call attention to the fact that point in time is the reason why it's a point in time is it helps ensure that the data already is inherently deduplicated. If you're conducting an account on a single night, then the people that go into shelter, ideally, are counted in shelter, and the people that are on the streets, ideally, are counted in the app. One of the first questions we ask is, where do you sleep in the account? If they say shelter, we say thank you, have a nice day. Because they're going to be counted in the shelter. But the more pressing challenge is, how do we get all the data together so that we can create a final report that gets to HUD? And so there's a URL at the bottom here. It's under support. It's basically, it's do a point in time info, click on support, and then the first tab is regional point in time reporting. This is a diagram that's there, but what it's basically showing is you have different data that needs to get together in one place to go to HUD. And from the command center, you've got your unsheltered data that's either both the survey or the tally, as well as sheltered data for anyone that's not using HMIS, or so using HMIS, you just don't trust the data from them. So you can also collect sheltered survey information from the app. Then we have a Excel-based tool that supports the data collection reporting for DD projects. And the way that tool works is also available on the resources page. If you send the tool out, they fill information in about their clients, and they don't send you the tool back. They send you a results string. So this, the thing that ties this all together is this results exchange format. And the results exchange format works similar to the SAGE files that you send to HUD. The APR uploads, or now we're doing, the LSA is also just there's the results files. You're not sending client information. You're sending the results of queries run over your data. And so by having these different data sources all using the same results format, this is in this case our warehouse, and this is another, if your HMIS vendor can support the results format, then we can include them as a fifth data source. If not, you can put the results of the reports that they are able to generate into a results file generation tool, also available on the website. It can also create the same results format. Currently, if you send us these results files, we will compile them so you can input them into your the HUD extrapolation tool to drive your final counts. We may swap this piece out with another tool, which is basically a results file aggregation tool. So depending on the request, this piece may go from sending us all of your information to the help desk to requesting the aggregation tool that we have that's currently built. You need a little training in order to know how to use it. So sometimes it's easier for us to work with these files. You do have to use an extrapolation tool. It doesn't have to be the HUD point in time extrapolation tool, but that's a good one. It does the trick. Basically, anytime you have missing, don't know, refused, a lot of observation tallies, you're going to have to extrapolate in order to derive an estimate for your whole community. And then once those results come out, that's what gets sent to HUD. And then beyond that, we can take this information and we can update your trend analysis. So if after the count, you're finished with your numbers and you want to update the point-in-time dashboards we have on point-in-time.info, so you can go back to your community and say, well, this is where our changes are, and you want to have some PowerPoint slides, whatever, just send us your information and we'll update these dashboards. So the dashboard, point-in-time.info /dashboard, you'll see your community in here. We're still waiting on, actually I think we just finally got 2019 data, so that was a little stale coming back out of HUD. But we do have up to 2018, and we should get 2019 in there shortly. So if you want to play around with this, you'll see details about your state, your COC, and your trends year over year for I think since 2007, I believe. And on these setup, can we rename the surveys? Yes, you can. If you go into settings themselves, in the settings, and you hit surveys, where it says display name, if you double click on this, you can actually just change it to anything you want. The way that the survey is displayed in the app is alphabetical. So, give that some consideration when you're changing the names. As I said earlier, I prefer to have the unsheltered survey on top. So, instead of calling it unsheltered survey, which would, you would tend to come towards the end of the alphabet. If you do homeless survey - unsheltered, you can push it up front. So something to be considerate of. Whether or not you should use a shelter-based survey, some people don't. And then vehicle survey would, if you have one, you'll be further down. So something to consider for that. And another question that we had, what are the various roles available in the command center? So if you're setting up users in the command center, as an admin, you can set up other admins. You can set up managers, and users, and regional administrators. So an administrator basically has Uber access, and it's for your data store. They can read other users, they can manage survey information, they create reports, control your account settings, etc. The manager has all those same capabilities, except for the ability to create and manage other user accounts or to change the account settings. So they can't change the setup key, they can't change the region geography, but they can manage incoming data and do a lot of the functionality that we'll need other people to do for the account, especially for a large region. Outreach, for the purpose of the point in time, can be ignored. We do use the same command center to support another app called Show the Way, which is focused on outreach. But that's more of an ongoing activity, account activity. It's not account activity. It's a campaign. In a sense, it's a campaign, so it's ongoing. If you are interested in that functionality, at any point, reach out to us, and we'd be happy to show you, how the Show the Way app works and integrates with the command center. The user is basically an account volunteer, so no privileges in the command center at all. And a regional administrator is a level down for those that are using the region account team management function, where they can have someone assigned to just a portion of the community. And the way it works is they're seeing all incoming data for volunteers that have been associated with that region. So for using Carlsbad as an example again, if I was a regional administrator for Carlsbad, any users that are on account teams or have been designated to Carlsbad, I will see all the survey information that they collect, but nothing else. So the reason why that this role sometimes comes in handy is for those really large, balanced state or big city or the big counties, and there's just a need to break out the responsibilities and have more people help manage the count, in real time in the count data. So by spreading out that workload, it's not all on you as a count admin. You're cheering out the responsibilities. Post-count follow-ups. After the count, make sure volunteers submit all the saved drafts. Again, you can use that download user list from the users tab. You can start working on your thank you for participating email now. You don't have to wait. And kind of follow up and say, thanks for your help, and make sure you submit all your surveys. Typically it's a non-issue, but it doesn't hurt to make sure people do that. And then you have the people's email addresses and cell phone numbers associated to each survey they submit. So as you're doing the post-count follow-up, cleanup, you might be reaching out to people that way as well. Say, it looked like you strayed out of your region, or you didn't capture, gender, or race, or whatever it might be for this person. Can you provide a few more details? Now, this last one, the recent addition, and it's totally optional, but I've been in communication with a gentleman, Kevin Adler from Miracle Messages, who met him at National Alliance and Homelessness Conference about a year ago. And we were, been postulating on whether or not we can use this point-in-time exercise as an opportunity to help his organization reunite more people with their loved ones. And basically, it's a simple question of, if you were interested in this, we're not looking to charge anything. We're trying to help people here. If you wanted to add this service, we'd want to do an amendment to your agreement, because it basically would be sharing data with Miracle Messages, and it's a 501c3 nonprofit. But you'll be asking, do you have any family or friends that you'd like to reconnect with if you don't currently know how to reach them? So you ask that leading question, and if they say yes, we'll have a separate survey that the volunteers can fill out. They get some basic information. And the intent of this is to capture enough information to help. They have these teams that work, and they use social media, and they phone calls, and they're teams of volunteers around the country, and their jobs is they really try to help people find people they love, and if they can find those people, then they can have a reunion. And so far they've done 274, but we want to help them increase that number. And most of those reunions, a lot of those actually do turn into stable housing for the person that was lost. So something for you to think about. And if you would like to add this in to your agreement, if you already have one, we'll do an amendment. And if you don't have one, you want to work together, we'll make sure and you're interested, we can make sure that's included in your agreement as well. So that's it for the kind of the high-level overview. We can share the text in general, but I'm going to pause and let me look at the chat, see what we have here. Any questions that came through in the chat? Okay. And if you wanted to unmute yourself as well, you can just do so by pressing *6. So in the chat, one of the questions that Kim had was, I want to share map exports from last year's count with my count lead to help them with planning for this year. Is there a way to get the map in the command center to full screen? So I think, Kim, let me jump over and show the new map printing function. I think that might be what you are looking for. So let me show, in this case, I'm going to have to reload. If you click on these maps, so if you actually go into these print formats, is A4 is like landscape, and there's a portrait. And what it does is it's going to create an image file, in this case here. And if I wanted to zoom in, it would be a lot more clear to a certain area. But what you can do, so you can go to whatever area you want and zoom in as far as you want, and then use this new map print function, and it's going to create those maps for you in a pretty wide format. So, and by the way, this is the new Snappier functionality. I'm just going to mess around here just to show you how this is. Now, again, this is the demo account, and so we set it up for the entire country because we get surveys from everywhere for that. But just watch this. These are all the cities in the country coming up through a web browser, which is pretty impressive. I don't know, something happening with Southwest Indiana, but the same thing with zip codes. It's might take a little while longer. Or maybe we have to that one defaulted. Let me do counties. Yeah. I mean, that's as far as every single change in, these regional boundaries, to have that rendered that quickly is a huge amount of data being coming from the servers and being displayed here. So anyway, I find it pretty exciting to play around with. And then as far as getting counts, it's you're clicking on the map in order to get the revised values. I'm not going to go to the list view on here, but I will go over to the user. Actually, no, I'll do the demo region. So there's another question that came up related to users. Yeah. If my volunteers did not use a registration form, can we send Syntec our Excel spreadsheet with the volunteer information to be exported into my region? So that's where let me show you this piece. So that was Ashley, and you're actually not sending it to us. What you're going to be doing is log into the command center. And in here, on the user side, you will have the ability to import. Worst case, yes. Oh yeah, down here, add user. Import users. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for that Excel file. In this case, you'll open up your Excel file and you want to save it as a CSV. So open it up, do file save as, and save it as the extension .csv. Then you're going to browse for it on your hard drive and upload it. And it'll walk you through. You might have to make sure just label your columns, but the wizard should walk you through and that your users into the command center. And what other questions we had? Kim, I'm following along in the app, and I'm shelter observation mode that does not have the unknown age believed to be options. Yeah, so again, for anyone that wants those additional questions, so we had those are brand new after the field testing we did in San Diego. We haven't changed your surveys. If you want the believed to be responses, or you're also interested in the length of homelessness question not being number of months, but being a range, then we would encourage you just to submit an email to point in time, so pit@syntexsolutions.com, and just say, can you swap these for me? So we've already gone through the process of getting them approved by many regions, and so we just need your permission to change them to anything else. So if you would like the different values, we'd be happy to switch them up for you. We just need your permission to do so. Okay, and Ashley, another question. How can I combine census tracts so that I can create a larger area for a survey team's boundaries? All right, let me go into that actually. The way that the region functionality works, and I'll pick on Carmel Valley, because that's where is in this case, if I were to set the region geography, in this case, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different census tracts. All right. If I'm going to edit the geographies, if I want to expand them, I'm just going to click on the map. All right. So we'll just now it's this larger area. All right. So I've got 6 census tracts total. I'm going to hit finish editing. Now, if I wanted to have a team that's comprised, and I want to send them to the western side over here, I can do that by adding a team. All right. And then I'm going to do edit team geographies. And I'm just going to select these 2. In this case, it's not just one track, there's 2. And hit finish. And now the western count team, that's part of the Carmel Valley region, that's part of the San Diego County, is these 2. Now, if I have users associated to Carmel Valley as a region, I can actually assign them here to that new county. So, and then on the region side of it, I've got my region geography, I've got my users, I've got the different count teams I have set up, and then beyond that, in the settings, I can have a deployment center. So if we want to meet at the United Way or, some McDonald's parking lot or whatever it might be, I can create an address for that. Key information, if I wanted to have quotas, so I can set, I need 15 people max on this one, but I need 5 cars because of a fair amount of area. If you do the volunteer registration portal, this is what, allows for that to be either be displayed in the volunteer registration or not. So you can turn it on, this on or off. If I want to update that region, I can. Again, setting the deployment center, where we're meeting up, and then a regional admin for all, in this case, all Carmel Valley as a region. I would be actually adding a new admin by looking at all the users that we have and search for a user and add that person. So I'm not going to do that, but it's that simple. So, and then on the users on the side of it, if I wanted to work through users, I can, I can work with them. I can make some notes. As a car, willing to drive. And then the notes are displayed. So I'm associated to the Western region. I need to update this. I have a car, and so I can go ahead and do that. And if I said I wasn't part of a group, I can do that too. So, so that's the high level on that. Let me see what other questions came up. Are you able to acquire questions to be answered in the survey? Yes, you are. So that came from Sandra. You just need to let us know which questions you want to have required. So, the core survey as it comes out, really we're only making sure that, again, it goes back to the age question. We need to have something for that so we know where people fall on the survey. On the report, either they're an adult or a child. And so nothing else is required. But from a community perspective, if you feel like there's certain questions you absolutely want to have answered, you can you just tell us which ones you want required, and we'll have them required for you. And again, for those kind of setup things, because it's a little bit more involved in the setup, we do that for you. You just need to send an email to point in time at pit@syntexsolutions.com, and we'll take care of it for you. Okay, so we're at the hour right now. Any other questions that people have?
Yes, this is Ron Johnson. I'm wondering, we're going to do a subset of questions for one of the counties in our COC. Is there a way to pull by the question itself all the data that's been gathered so that we can do external analysis?
So, all right, so help me out a little bit. So they have their own questions?
You have the questionnaire, a specific questionnaire set up for a subsection of our COC. Okay. When we finish, we'd like to be able to pull the responses just for that particular subset of questions for offline analysis. Are there any issues with
it? No. So that all the data, if you go to the responses, this is demo data. By going to list view, you can, from here, you can go into the export, and you can choose what data you're exporting, and so that will include the custom questions that have been added. And so, you can have fun with that basically, and on your own export it, and it all comes out into a CSV format, so you can open it in Excel or Access or Tableau from there.
Okay. Then, is there a way to look prior to with just using the demo data so that we can pre-test that?
Yeah, we're just for right now. Yeah, you can use. If you, offline, I want to show your data because it's I don't know if there's sensitive information in there, but offline I can show you how to do it with your own data as well. So I'm showing everyone's data right now that we have. So, but if you wanted just to pick up the phone afterwards, I can show you how to do it just with your data. I just don't want to share. Sometimes people use the even though it's in testing, they'll still be using it to actually engage people experiencing homelessness. So, I want to show it to you, but I don't want to do it in a webinar. Let's put it that way.
I can follow up with you later?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just
Okay.
so I'm not sharing a screen with any sensitive information with other people. But good question. Yeah. So you know, and if it's a region too, you can also select the region. I mean, that's an easy way to just I can show that in the demo. You can select a region to work with too. So in this case, if I wanted to just look at responses for this demo region, but just for, and this is my view. So you know, the responses in general, they're all over the country. But if I wanted to really dive in and just look for a portion of the community, you know, I could use these map-based filters, choose a region, and that will subset this list to only show that portion of the community. So you can work with just that piece of data too. But again, let's take more of it offline so I can show you with your data.
Okay.
All right. All right. Any other questions? No other questions to the chat. Any other questions from people on the call? Well, without hearing anyone, and again, if you can't talk, you just if you dial *6, that will unmute your line. So maybe I should have reiterated that. But I'll pause for a little bit. But otherwise, you can always reach out to us. So team@simtechsolutions.com goes to everyone. pointintime.simtechsolutions.com, it creates a help desk ticket. So if it's an issue or something needs to get addressed, use that PIT@simtechsolutions.com, and a member of our team will get back to you. If it's a suggestion or it's a general communication, use team@simtechsolutions.com as well. But if you have anything leading up to the count that you need more help or guidance on, reach out to us. That's what we're here for, and we're here up until the count, during the count, after the count. So through the whole process, until you get that report submitted to HUD, we got your backs. So that said, thank you all for taking the time to join us today, and we wish you the best of luck as you get closer to it. And again, if you need anything, just reach out. All right. Oh, Celine, one question while you have it, and then before I sign off. Isn't the miracle message question something that can integrate into the survey? Yes, it can be. So we'll ask the leading question, and if you want the additional miracle message survey, we can add that in as well. So if you want to work that in, let us know, and then we'll just need to get an amendment in play. Okay. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, Donna.
Sure thing. Bye.
All right. Take care.